I cried prior to making this video. I think I cried prior to making the pig and the chicken videos as well. This is very sad. I see this as the anchor point of our enslavement, and by us consenting to these horrible animal sacrifices, we are perpetuating and propagating the very system that enslaves us, that we seek to free ourselves from. And I was a meat eater my whole life up until just about 3 years ago. So I don't say this out of a higher than thou. I don't bring this to you in any kind of authority over you or condemnation, nor to spark shame and guilt, but to unshackle you from the chains of ignorance and shine a light to enable you to embrace this knowledge. And knowledge is power. And power is literally the ability to change. This first part, I printed this off. I'm reading directly from Google. This information is just like the pig and chicken video. You just type it into Google, it's right there. That's how these systems operate. They need your consent, your compliance, and the claim of ignorance is not valid. Factory and slaughterhouse workers, particularly those on the kill floor, are exposed to high levels of workplace violence and trauma, which leads to a distinct set of psychological conditions. Studies indicate that slaughterhouse workers have higher rates of depression, anxiety, and serious psychological distress than the general population. Common psychological conditions and mental health issues associated with this work include, excuse me guys, I need to get a sip of water. Perpetration-induced traumatic stress, PITS. Similar to PTSD, this condition occurs when a person is involved in creating a traumatic situation, in this case, killing animals, rather than just being a victim. PITS symptoms include PTSD-like nightmares, depression, anxiety, and paranoia. Severe psychological distress, SPD. Workers exhibit higher rates of SPD, including feelings of paranoia, anxiety, and being numb or detached from their work. Increased aggression. Studies have shown that slaughterhouse workers display higher levels of aggression, both physical and verbal, and hostility compared to other professions. These aggression levels have been found to be similar to those in incarcerated populations. Emotional numbing and disassociation. To cope with the repetitive violence, workers often develop emotional detachment or doubling, treating the work as robotic, which can affect their personal relationships and contribute to social isolation. Substance abuse. High rates of alcohol and drug abuse are reported, often used as coping mechanisms to deal with the traumatic nature of the job. Job-home spillover / domestic violence. Research indicates a correlation between the presence of slaughterhouses and increased rates of domestic violence and social detachment. The high stress environment and the need to act aggressively at work can cause this behavior to spill over into the home life. Nightmares and flashbacks. Workers frequently report recurring dreams and nightmares involving the slaughter process and violent encounters with animals, often experienced in the early months of employment, but sometimes continuing long term. Factors contributing to mental health issues include the first kill. Many workers describe their initial experience of killing animals as severely traumatic, characterized by immediate guilt, shock, and shame. High injury rates. Slaughterhouse work is considered one of the most dangerous, with frequent physical injuries, 1 out of 7 workers in some studies, obviously increasing stress levels. High line speeds. The requirement to process animals rapidly can cause immense pressure and contribute to anxiety. Social stigma. Workers may feel ashamed of their job, leading to social withdrawal and isolation. I did that simple search 2 weeks ago. This one I did today. And this was the exact Google answer I got. Research indicates a significant link between slaughterhouse employment and higher rates of domestic abuse, along with other violent crimes. Studies suggest that the violent, high stress, and often traumatizing nature of the work, specifically the act of killing animals, creates a spillover effect where violence, aggression, and desensitization to suffering are brought into the home. Key statistics and findings. 1. Increased crime rates. Research comparing communities with slaughterhouses to those without found that the presence of a slaughterhouse is a significant predictor for total arrests, violent crimes, rape, and sexual offenses. 2. Domestic violence correlation. A study covering 581 U.S. counties from 1994 to 2002 found that the presence of a slaughterhouse is associated with a 90% increase in offenses against the family or domestic abuse. Higher aggression levels. Slaughterhouse workers have shown higher propensities for aggression, similar to incarcerated populations, and report higher rates of domestic violence and sexual abuse. Four, community impact. One analysis found that counties with slaughterhouses have 4 times the national average of violent arrests, alongside significantly higher rates of alcoholism, child abuse, and suicide. 5. Let me get another sip of water. Man, this is difficult. This is difficult. Specific demographic impact. 5. A South African study noted workers on the kill floor reported higher levels of violence, with employees often reporting perpetrating violence against their partners. For example, I beat my wife yesterday. And the reason any of this is known is because these workers go to psychologists, psychiatrists, therapists to get help, to be able to cope, to be able to figure out what's wrong with them. This one study alone correlates specifically with the study by Robert Sapolsky in his decades-long research on baboons and how they went from being led by alphas who would beat up on lower-ranking members, who in turn would beat up on the children and infants, sometimes killing them. After having eaten tainted food, the alphas died off and the betas took over and completely ceased the abusive behavior. And within 6 months, the culture of the troop changed into a harmonious, balanced, and peaceful existence. And this change was not just temporary, but became the modus operandi, the way the society operated. And decades later, they are still living in this manner. If you haven't watched my video on that study, you might find it helpful in your healing journey. It is titled, We Are the Change, and is less than 7 minutes, and I posted it 5 days ago. And that is the whole point of this, is that we are the change. By our needless consumption of animal flesh, we are literally forcing these satanic systems of cruelty, abuse, and trauma into existence. These evil systems only exist because each one of us individually demands to enforce our right to consume animal flesh. Flesh that was pumped full of poisonous antibiotics, vaccines, and hormones. Flesh that only ever knew fear, dis-ease, and death. Flesh that was literally forced into existence to satisfy your taste buds and your false indoctrinated belief system of nutrition. Each one of us individually that is self-righteously and shamelessly consuming these animal sacrifices is responsible not only for the satanic abuse of these poor creatures, but as we can clearly see here, the devastation of countless human lives and communities. This was all done by a quick Google search. And should you want further proof, I'm sure you can go to YouTube and type in recovering factory workers, recovering slaughterhouse workers, and you will be, good luck. Good luck with what you find. I can't stomach it. I've watched a few videos over the past couple years, and I can't stomach it. They have to make this, so all this information was garnered by 2 quick Google searches. They have to make this information available because they need you to consent. The whole point of these systems is to get you to willingly give over your humanity, to give up the precious gift of being human in exchange for a life of slavery, dis-ease, and addiction. Chained to wants, needs, and desires that have been artificially inseminated into your mind by a system whose only means of control is your denial of personal responsibility and the handing over of your sovereignty. This epidemic of ritual sacrifice for pleasure has imbued itself into the intricate web of life on this earth and created an environmental, cultural, and social catastrophe. The engagement in and consumption of these satanic sacrifices has created such a chasm between how we are existing and surviving and what our actual purpose here on this earth as a human is, that we bear little resemblance to the man in the mirror. The intent here is not to force shame and guilt, but to shine a light on this dark space, enabling one the courage to take personal responsibility and change. Because it really is as simple as that. To make a conscious decision and to enact the change. We are powerful beyond measure. We are eternal souls in command of the most advanced biological system on this beautiful plane of existence. We must reclaim our humanity. We must be courageous. We must take personal responsibility. We must align ourselves, body, mind, and soul. And when we do, we will find that all the supposed needs, wants, and desires we thought were inherently ours were actually the methodically imbued programs by which these satanic systems of ritual abuse initiated and ensured their total domination. Ignorance is no longer an excuse. We will be held accountable for knowingly and willingly participating in, consenting to, and perpetuating these sacrificial rituals. Knowledge is power. Power is literally the ability to change. You have the knowledge. You have the power. Now it is up to you to make the change. Take care of yourselves, guys. Nobody else will.